Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Happy month of May. Right, Zack?
It's a special month. It's a big month. The biggest month of all.
Well, I'm Alex alongside Zack. We're here to talk about NASCAR at Texas, IndyCar at Barber, ooh, and F1 at Miami, which was not bad in my opinion.
Kind of slay. Clap if you thought the race was interesting.
I'm clapping.
Not bad.
I'm clapping. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen F1 do worse. It's not bad.
Like, F1 was my race of the weekend, y'all. So we're in the upside down. The Stranger Things 5 promo is going kind of crazy. But
yeah, what a weird weekend of racing. It was so busy. All three, of our big series are in America, obviously, and F1 came out on top in terms of like what we thought. I mean, we'll cover it all as we get through.
And let me say, I wanted to go into this weekend not feeling overstimulated. I didn't, because I knew none of these races were going to be that good, right? I went into it like, I'm going to watch each one individually, even if they overlap a bit. I don't care. I watched IndyCar at Barber first all the way through, and then I turned on F1. I did not watch the first two stages of NASCAR. I enjoyed myself, and then I put NASCAR on, and
I mean, that's when the race starts anyways. So.
That's kind of when the race starts anyways. I feel like I tried listening to like a podcast and watch some highlights. I feel like nothing happened in stage 1 and 2 anyway. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Nothing
Zack,
too consequential. I mean, it's like, if anything, people lost the race in stage 1 and 2. Like, Josh Berry spinning, Hamlin blowing up. Yeah. Like, that's all I really remember. Like, nothing really interesting happened.
Right.
To be fair.
But
the racing was all right. But
yeah, we have a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right in. NASCAR at Texas. This is just what Texas is now, huh?
I'm a little frustrated because it's like, was I the only one that watched the race last year? Like, this is exactly what happened last year. It's like people kept wrecking on turn 4. I mean, obviously, maybe I just feel like a bunch of people are like, so this is just Texas now. Like, yeah, nothing changed with the car. Nothing changed with the track. Yep. Nothing. Well, what were you expecting exactly? And that's why I kind of, I said last week on the podcast, I'm excited to go to Texas because at least something's going to happen.
Right.
And many things happen. We had a lot of wrecks. If you didn't see enough wrecks at Talladega, well, we got the big ones. We had like 3 big ones on the backstretch.
Right.
Oh my God. Classic NASCAR. And Alex, it goes back to what you said a few weeks ago. Every NASCAR race is either mind-numbingly boring and Kyle Larson leads 1,000 laps, or we just have this circus that I like to call it, where it's just caution after caution after caution, and Joey Logano wins. Very, very typical NASCAR this last month.
It's very frustrating, and I apologize for continuing to say this over the last month, but it's either in this side extreme where it's just nothing happens, boring, too predictable, the racing's bad, or you go into this chaotic category where it's just too unpredictable, too much is happening, and it's hard to follow. Like that last run, I don't know how many cautions there were and how many restarts there were and everything. It was stupid. It was not enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, seeing Logano win that race to me, again, it's just, I don't sit there and be like, that's impressive. I mean, it is impressive. He's put himself in position. It's
similar to Byron's Daytona 500 win for me. So I'm just like, well, you kind of just fell into that. It's a bit different.
Everyone else just decided to not win that race. It felt like. I mean, obviously, Logano does this pretty consistently. Actually, like it felt a lot like Nashville last year in a way, where it's just as soon as Logano got control of that race, it's keys. It's done. There's no way anyone else is winning that race. So. I can kind of find it impressive. The fact that it's Joey Logano, I can actually kind of find it a little impressive because this is just what he does. That 22 team, they stay in it. When they're in position, they execute. That's why they're 3-time champions. So in the case of current NASCAR, I will say yesterday's race, I was probably more entertained by that race than I've been entertained in the last month or so of watching the series, at least. So I'll take that. But it's not exactly what I signed up for.
This isn't what isn't what a good race would be at all. But this shouldn't be what, like, if you look at Jeff Gluck's good race poll, for example, this shouldn't be one of the higher rated races of the last month when you consider what tracks we just went to.
Yes.
Not good. And this is only at like 50%, by the way. And
again, consider like this race last year when Chase Elliott won, and that's been Chase Elliott's only win in the past, like, 2.5 seasons. It's like, last year's race again went a lot like this. It's just the leaders kept wrecking out. Like, I'm not saying that Chase Elliott didn't deserve that win. It's just like, it almost takes weight off of it with the way, it's just less impressive to me. Like, I think it would have been more impressive. See Ryan Blaney, if that race went green, Ryan Blaney find a way past Kyle Larson, whether through pit cycles or just passing on the track. I think that would have been a lot more interesting to everybody, similar to what was going to happen at Darlington, right? So it's just a little, but cautions happen, wrecks happen, a lot of wrecks happen. It's just, this track is like what gets me is it's another one of those things where it's like, we don't see this problem happen on Saturdays at all.
Right.
Surely, the bump was a challenge for drivers on Saturday and Friday, but it's like, these are our best stock car drivers in the world, but, they're driving these cars with these really low rear ends, and they're going to hit a big bump and they're going to lose control. No, I can tell you that's going to happen. And it's just, it's kind of frustrating because we're going to go back to Texas next year and nothing's going to change. And we're just going to keep having that kind of race. It's like, is this what we're here
at least Texas isn't in the playoffs anymore, so I feel like it's not as big of a deal.
Thank God, because I don't even remember what 2023 was like, but remember 2022 when we had all that tire? Texas has just been like, it's been clouded with all this weird energy in the last few years, especially with the next gen era, but even with but when late Gen 6, when it had the All-Star race, and then like it's just got all this weird energy about it. I don't know. The PJ1 saga with IndyCar and weird track. Just a weird track.
And the thing is, people are still saying like, oh, we should change Texas. And it's like, to what?
To what?
They've changed the layout format of it several times. I don't think you can do another Atlanta because we have too many of those.
Well,
they should have made this the Atlanta in the first place.
Yes, I agree, but that's not going to stop them from making it another super speedway.
But with how much money that costs, I feel like that's not an option necessarily.
Yeah, because why fix the cars when you can just spend millions and millions and millions to change the track?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like, I just don't, again,
so silly.
See you next year at the same track and we're going to see the same problem.
And we're having the same conversation.
Look, I feel like I don't have a lot to say because I feel like we talked about this last year in the 2024 race. Literally, I remember saying like that was entertaining, but was it racing? I think that was the title of the episode. Like, and that's exactly what I'm saying today. It was entertaining, not exactly the kind of racing I want to see because it wasn't really racing. We had some cool moments, of course.
And if you want to have a wonky track that has, a bunch of crashes and everything, okay, sure. But the problem is we have that at every other track. Like, this is not unique at all. Like, it makes sense. I don't care.
Yeah, it makes sense that like Dover and Darlington, like those aren't supposed to be the treacherous tracks. A cookie cutter mile and a half is not supposed to be like this is supposed to be your run of the mill NASCAR race. But some people might find that to be a positive. Like, this used to be a cookie cutter mile and a half, and now it's got so much character. And honestly, that's what I want to say about that bump in turns 4, because this track having that kind of character and turns 1 and 2 being so different, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's a big clash with the next gen car, and it just doesn't work. You can't have a quirky car at this quirky track. You got to pick a struggle. Do you want to have a quirky track or a quirky car? Because you cannot have both at the same time. That's what we're seeing on Sundays. Because the Xfinity race we saw, that was fun. I think New Texas, Old Texas was better, sure, but New Texas it's kind of cool. You just throw it in there, turns 3 and 4, really fast, and then got to navigate turns 1 and 2. I don't know. I respect it, but now it's just with the next gen car, it's just kind of.
We're not going to detail every single overtime because there are too many, and there's too much to cover.
I don't want to be here all night.
Yeah, Zack has the suds right now. He's not feeling great, so we're going to try and keep moving on here. Blaney, he made some interesting lane choices at the end of this race, and as you said, Before all the overtime, and not overtime, but just restarts in general, he had a long run car. The story was, could he catch Kyle Larson? He was making these lane choices that were odd, I feel. And then Kyle Larson, he like was sleeping on one of the restarts, and then that lost his shot at the win. I feel like one of those two winning would have been fine, but now they both kind of lost it like by that.
I don't know if it was on Fox or wherever. Apparently, McDowell caught Larson napping. Like, Larson went early in the restart box again, and McDowell predicted it right and then got the jump on him. Like, kind of, which is, you know, that's why they play restart games all the time. It's just kind of crazy. Maybe, and honestly, maybe Larson wasn't really expecting McDowell to like predict that. You know, it's kind of like a fighting game in that sense. They're like playing rock, paper, scissors in the restart zone, basically. Like, when are you going to go? You know?
Wouldn't you think Larson maybe underestimated
maybe
McDowell too? Because McDowell was on those two tires. Right. And I thought he was going to fall to like 20th, but clearly that didn't happen.
And it was such a weird restart. So Blaney, we mentioned Blaney because Blaney was second, and instead of picking the outside lane, he picked the inside lane behind Larson because he's like, oh, I'll just follow Larson through here instead of, you know, the outside lane. If I get stuck up there, I don't want to be up there, you know, once we get to turn 4 and hit that bump.
Yeah.
But then McDowell got the good restart. Larson lost the lead. And then he like kept losing positions. He got like, I think he must have gotten flustered or something, or even got up too high and got his tires dirty because he was starting to bleed positions, and that just ended his chances to win. I mean, he was like 5th at one point.
Right.
So, but Blaney, man, hindsight's 2020, but I'm just like, dude, you could have smoked him on that outside lane. I mean, we saw other people do it. I don't know if that was the right choice at the time. But again, hindsight's 2020. He thought McDowell wasn't going to get a good restart and didn't want to be behind. Or, well, no, he would have been in front of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, really weird. And then focus on Michael McDowell. I thought he was going to win this race for a minute. And then I think we had 3 more restarts after that. But
I was ready to get the Disney Channel on, man. I was so concerned.
He ended up crashing, and I don't know what to say about this.
He concerns me. Like, I saw something on Twitter today. Like he said he's willing to sacrifice a lot of things to make the playoffs. Like when he blocked himself, like when he wrecked himself at Talladega last year.
Yeah, that crazy big block on Logano, I believe it was, too.
He just concerns me. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, he just scares me. Yeah. I'm like, bro, it's just a NASCAR race. Like, blocking on Joey all the way down to the apron. I'm just like... And where was he in points? Like, sure, you're not maybe like right at the playoff cut line, but you still got like 16, 15 races left. Do you really got to throw away a top 5 run? I come on. That's what I said at Talladega last year. I'm like, yeah, sure, maybe you're not in position, but this is ridiculous, man. I mean, obviously he didn't mean to wreck, but it's just, we've seen this consistent behavior. There's another moment at New Hampshire last year where he's just sending it in the corner. And, you know, slides up, and I think it might have been on Blaney, actually. It's so concerning to me. Like, it's just, it scares me almost. Like, dude, chill. Yeah. It's a NASCAR race. It's like his life depends on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it almost comes from his experience of not also fighting for wins a lot. Because
maybe
he spent most of his career as a mid-pack driver, which... I mean, he's been in mid-pack equipment most of his career, so that's no shade on him. It's just he always takes the high risk options, it seems like, and we see how they work out.
So this is the first time that the top 3 finishers in a race all started outside the top 20 since 2014 Talladega, and before that, on a non-super speedway, was 2008 New Hampshire. The stats from Joseph Shrigley.
I remember that. That's race. Crazy. Kurt Busch won it. It was a rain shortened race. That's probably why it was weird, because it was
probably.
Yeah, that's a good memory. Yeah, that's a. Although to be fair, it was like Logano, Blaney, and who finished third? I forgot. But the
Blaney
Penske
was
cars,
third, I think.
The Penske cars have not been that good.
Chastain.
Saturdays. Oh, Chastain was second. Yeah. Oh, Trackhouse also not very good. Period with their speed, but again, kind of like Joey. Ross Chastain, he's able to find these finishes every now and then, I feel like. So,
Yeah.
gosh, I did not like. Speaking of Ross Chastain, I hated his interview. Did you hate his interview too? Did you hear it?
What did he say? I probably turned it off.
He was like, he kept bringing up like, man, if we had speed on Saturdays he said it was such a backhanded compliment to his team. It's like, this is what happens when my team gives me a car that I have confidence in. Like, he said it really backhanded. I'm just like, I get your frustration, but do not be saying this in front of the camera like that. Like, because he said,
that's a thing you would say in a Monday meeting. Like, hey, if we could have this speed on Saturdays, guys, we could really win. Like that's most tough love you would say in a meeting, not on TV.
He kept repeating, like, I just haven't had confidence in the car lately, and that's really been our struggle. But today I had confidence in it. And honestly, it's probably just because he got decent track position and had more clean air. That's probably, that could just be it, right? Clean air is going to fix a lot of things. But that's what I hated his interview. God, I don't want to talk about him anymore. Ross Chastain's definitely my least favorite driver. I'm going back to that. He's so like and now he's just being rude to his crew. Like, it just felt so disrespectful. I don't think he realized how like rude he was sounding. Maybe it's just me. Let me know if you also thought that interview.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone else. I haven't seen anyone else talk about this, Zach.
It rubbed me the wrong way, the way he said it. It felt so backhanded. I think that's why people didn't catch it, because it was still I don't know.
From how you're describing it, I think it sounds pretty bad. You said you didn't want to talk about Chastain anymore, but I'm sure you'd love to talk about Carson Hocevar, because we have a Patreon comment from Chris. Says Ride the Dente is stuck in their head, and them partnering with Carson and giving him that cute little cowboy outfit is 10 out of 10. Zach, what do you think about it? We've talked about this.
My PR manager said I cannot comment on this, unfortunately. So
I'm your PR guy. What are you talking about?
I don't have anything productive to say on the podcast about Carson Hocevar looking like a cowboy. Oh my God, he is really cute. He got the pole. Oh my gosh.
He did get the pole. Yeah.
He did get the pole. I wish I had the pole. What? Oh. Yo, who said that?
I did not approve that comment.
In iRacing, I qualified second in my race at Texas. I wish I had the pole. That's why it said. I want to be just like Carson.
Okay.
Duh.
Yeah, let's not get confused, you guys. That's what I meant.
I just wanted. Yeah, I would have probably done better if I got the pole. I'm just saying. Anyways,
my one complaint about the fire suit is that the jean pockets are like too low.
And that's
my only complaint.
They just look stupid. I don't know. They just look stupid to me. I like that hat, the cowboy hat, but
I think it's a really cool fire suit. I just think the booty pockets need to move up a bit. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's move on to IndyCar at Barber.
Do we have to?
And
this is going to take 5. Well, never mind. It's going to take 5 minutes.
Well, if you want a 6-minute recap of IndyCar at Barber, I did a little video for ATYL Media on my little show there called 4 Laps. Literally 6 minutes long. Check it out after this if you want. I talked about it, but not much to talk about. That's why it was only 6 minutes. Alex Palou won again, this time by 16 seconds.
Okay, I don't want to hear any IndyCar fans saying anything about F1. I don't want to hear it. You guys have lost privilege. NASCAR fans too, but I get on y'all every week about that. No, y'all cannot say anything about F1. Keep Formula One out of y'all's mouths. I don't care if McLaren did win by 30 seconds at Miami. Keep F1 out of y'all's mouths.
Well, and I want to say 2 things. 1, this is 3rd win in 4 races this year. 2, IndyCar prior to Mid-Ohio last year. What happened at Mid-Ohio? They added the hybrid. But prior to that, you could have races where someone would dominate like this, but you'd still have a good race. This was not a good race.
And there was the 3-stop strategy was really the only strategy too, right? Like, I mean, the 2-stop strategy wasn't even that good at Barber anyways, but still, like, there was just that everyone's on the same strategy, just differences in tires, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry to any IndyCar fan who is kind of disillusioned, still thinking this is still great, because this is not the same IndyCar from a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Any time before that, they cannot pass. This is basically an F1 light race.
I mean, I was in denial about it, like at St. Pete. I'm like, okay, maybe this is just, it's a street course. It's hard to pass. But I think the fact that we haven't had a lot of cautions lately either, because
There's been one caution the whole season, and that was lap 1 at St. Pete. We are now over 300 consecutive laps without a caution.
Like, there's no wheel-to-wheel racing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no cautions. There's no incidents.
I respect that. That's a cool stat.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Roman
that does
Grosjean's
show
not in the field anymore, so it makes sense. But
that does help.
That's literally why. Wait, there's a correlation here. We're blaming the hybrids. No, it's Roman Grosjean being out. Oh my gosh, gotta get him back.
But that's funny.
And true.
It does show a lot of like skill for these guys to not have any cautions or anything, but it also shows that they're just not able to go wheel to wheel, as you said, as they could prior to the hybrid.
That dilutes the skill as well, because it just, when you know that someone's going to have a lot of trouble like passing you, you can kind of back off. You're not going to, but I don't know. You might, I mean, especially if you're starting to struggle, you're going to back off a little bit. And, you know, whoever's behind you, even if you have fast cars behind you, like, oh, well, nothing's going to happen.
Now, next week, I want to talk about this really quick while we're talking about the hybrid. Next week's the Indy road course, or this weekend. That was the worst track on the schedule before the hybrid implementation. So
yeah, I guess, yeah.
I'm concerned how that race is going to go, because that was a skippable race pre the hybrid. So good luck with that. I'll be at Kansas Speedway, so I will not be watching.
You'll be there Saturday?
I'll be at Kansas Saturday, yeah.
They got trucks in ARCA's Friday night. So you
have watching ARCA, but yeah.
You don't want to see a JGR car go lap me? I'm in the ARCA race.
You're in the ARCA race?
I can probably call somebody and get a ride.
Yeah.
Give me 10 minutes. Yeah. What's the Patreon password? God, that's funny. But back to Indy GP, like, so they have a rule change next week, which I think is, I don't want to call it the right move, but it's the only move they can really make right now. They're going to make it so that instead of where you only have to use one set of the alternates, you now have to use 2 sets of alternates and as well 2 sets of the primaries. And if you don't know what those are, it's because Fox won't put it on the damn screen.
And that's what I was just going to say. Is it going to matter to the fan at home because Fox will not tell the fan what tire compounds are being used?
Oh, and what really gets me is the rare times they do show it, they use S for soft and H for hard, but you're calling them primary and alternates verbally.
And it's also the ugliest graphic I've ever seen. Well, yeah. And if it is on screen, it's only on screen for like 2 seconds. And then it's gone.
Just hate the inconsistency. Like, at least like with NBC, it's like they always said the black primaries, the red alternates, and then they had the color, right? But now they have all these, like the S and the H, the extra letters, soft and hard, primary alternates. It's like, oh my God, how many tire compounds we got? So the casual fan would get confused, I feel like.
I talked about this in my 4 Laps episode on ATL Media. They had a template of what NBC did for years, and they clearly did not look at it, because how do you just miss this core part of an IndyCar broadcast? If you're going to be broadcasting IndyCar, you need to know this kind of stuff. If you're a fan watching, you need to be able to have this to know what's going on. And by the way, push to pass is the same kind of thing. They'll flash it up there when they highlight a specific driver, but again, it's there for like a second, 5 seconds.
I think that comes from like Fox covering NASCAR, and like obviously they got the Indy 500. This is oval racing, right? We don't need to worry about this. It's just something we can pull up every now and then.
I think they were actually shocked at the online reaction that they got at St. Pete for not having this stuff, and they're still like scrambling.
They probably think it's akin to like NASCAR, like tire life, like how many laps they run on their tires. Like that's probably what they think it's like in NASCAR, but no, it's a huge thing in IndyCar. But back to the rule change that they're doing at the NGGP. What do you think about that? Because I think, obviously we can't rip the hybrids out of the cars, even though we want to.
They should.
It's crazy that it's 100 pounds. It's crazy that makes that much of a difference.
That's a lot.
And it reminds me of like F1's hybrid era where, you know, they added it to the cars. Those cars got heavy and all of a sudden they just had horrible racing for like so many years. Just reminds me of that. I don't know if it's similar things. I'm gay, but if you're going to try to do something to the racing, and we talked about this with NASCAR, it's like bring alternate tires to more NASCAR races with the races that are really bad. If this is going to make it possibly more interesting, you know, get people in different strategies, different tire lives, different tires. Hopefully it helps. I almost wonder if they need to even have a bigger difference between like make the soft tire even softer so it has even more of an advantage. So you could actually go past somebody.
I like the idea of having them both have to be used twice. That's cool.
At this point, let's try something because this is unwatchable.
They need to.
This is unwatchable. It is unwatchable. Ridiculous.
I agree. Like, the Indy road course is the perfect place to try this at, as that is probably the worst track on the IndyCar schedule. I would maybe argue that's Toronto, but yeah, I would.
They have a lot of data there too.
Yeah. I mean, they had like 80 races there in peak COVID time, so there's a lot of data there.
Dude, Alex, I'm a little concerned on what's going to happen with the Indy 500. And I know, you know, testing. It's like people are passing during testing. That's testing.
It's testing.
People are probably letting off at the end of the straightaway when someone pulls alongside them. Like, and they're also not defending. Like, I'm just a little nervous on what this could do to the racing. It's already kind of hard to pass anyways, but we saw what Pato and Joseph did at the end of the last year. So
for me, I am mildly concerned about the Indy 500. You and I are, of course, going to that. My thing is that last year in the hybrid races, Milwaukee and Nashville were two of the better races.
You're right. I forgot about that.
And I feel like it's going to be okay. It's not going to be near the level that we've had the last 6 years or so at Indianapolis.
Well, it could be. I mean, it could just not be noticeable. With the speeds they're going, maybe it's not noticeable, but maybe it is.
Right. But
I don't know.
I would not count on a banger. Like, we've had a certified, guaranteed banger at Indianapolis for a very long time now. I would say that's not a guarantee. And I think it's okay if there was not necessarily a dud, but like just an okay, plain standard race, fine. I think we'll get that. We're still going to have the magic of the Indy 500. We're still going to have, you know, the prestige and everything. But if it is kind of a lackluster race, IndyCar needs to get their act together and be like, okay, how do we make sure this never happens again? And fingers probably need to be pointed at the hybrid, because that's the culprit. That'll be the one thing that's like that's what changed between last year and this year.
And it feels like everyone's hands are tied with it because it's like Honda's holding the entire sport hostage right now. Like, because they wanted that hybrid. That's also
the thing. IndyCar should have had a new car out a while ago, or even like soon next year, and put the hybrid on that. And it's like planned. We've had this car since 2012. That's quite a while ago at this point.
Yeah.
And they have since, you know, we've seen all the different aero kits. Like, this thing looked like a robot in 2017. And they've changed like the aero kit of it several times. And they added the aero screen. That was some weight they added to the car.
Yeah, but it was necessary.
It wasn't intended. It wasn't built intended with that.
Yeah.
But it's a great safety innovation. I think it's been a great ad.
I don't think it affected the racing that much. I think it maybe did at first, the first few years at the ovals, but at the road courses and street courses, I don't think we noticed too much of a change.
I agree. But okay, so they added that good safety innovation, right? But then now we have the hybrid, which they added mid-season last year just to plop it on, seemingly to appease Honda. Why don't you negotiate with Honda and say, hey, we are working on the new car. It's going to have the hybrid built with intention to have a hybrid. And we're going to have a car built with intention to have the aero screen. We're not just going to plop it on. Like, the aero screen was not plopped on. The hybrid was plopped on, right? There's a big difference here.
Yeah.
Go with that. Just throwing another thing onto this car when it's been around for so long. The teams have had this car for so long that they're found everything they can with it. And now you're just going to add this to it. It's absurd to me.
They must have been anxious that Honda was going to leave. Well, obviously they were, but I'm saying like they didn't. Honda must not have been willing to wait, I guess. Like, Which
again,
fair enough.
IndyCar should have had a car a lot sooner. Like, I know COVID happened, but they weren't even really working on a car as far as I know in 2020, 2019.
Well, and I also go back to, like, you know, David Land has this idea of, like, IndyCar should be IMSA, like IMSA's or the GTP hypercars, where it's like you have different formulas and they get balance of performance out to where they're somewhat equal. Like, so if Honda wants to run their hybrid, sure, they can run their hybrid, and Chevrolet doesn't have to deal with it or whatever. And
you know what? Yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, you would still, I don't know how that, but that's a whole different formula. You can't have spec cars doing all that. So it's a whole different kind of thing. Because then you would still have to add, you would probably have to add weight back to the Chevrolet and whatever.
For balance. I get it. That was a tangent. But yeah, hybrids suck. Flop of the week.
There's nothing to talk about with the race. Sorry.
Well, I have 3 things to talk about with the IndyCar race, actually.
Oh, these quick. Must be the other 3 laps of 4 laps. There we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all getting the
Christian Lundgaard passed Scott McLaughlin for P2.
Golf clap. It's F1 now. Golf clap.
You know what? Will Buxton, I'll give him his flowers because he's trying so hard to make this. Shut up. He is trying really, really hard to make this entertaining. He gave the call of his life on this pass.
Well, it was the second pass he saw all year. I would too. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. He's like, oh, my God, they're passing. Oh, my God.
I didn't know they passed an IndyCar.
But shout out Christian Lundgaard for real, though. I mean, he is second in points. And they said on the broadcast that the 7 Aero McLaren car has only had 4 or 3 podiums. And 3 of them are Christian Lundgaard and 1 was Oliver Askew. So
that checks out.
That's pretty impressive. Next one, Rinus VeeKay got 4th for Dale Coyne Racing, which is pretty cool. He qualified up there. He had a slow pit stop, didn't lose any positions. He ended up closing on McLaughlin late. I think if he didn't have that slow pit stop, he would have probably got on podium if he could pass. We don't know if he could have passed or not.
Yeah, you're funny. I know.
And third, this one's funny. Colton Herta comes into the pits, and Townsend Bell says
he has an issue.
Yeah. Townsend Bell says they need a perfect pit stop on the 26 car, blah blah blah. And I'm bracing for impact. I'm like, okay, what is going to happen to the 26 car this time? What's it going to be? I'm so excited. Something's going to happen.
Opened his mouth.
Of course, the car stalls as he's trying to leave. And I laughed so hard, Zach. I was cackling. Like, oh, of course, Colton Herta. That was so funny. That was my moment of the IndyCar race.
They haven't done that in a while. I feel like Andretti's actually had their stuff together for a little bit. They haven't had a bad pit stop in that long, right? Maybe.
26 cars had issues still this year.
Have they? Maybe. Well, I guess that shows you how much I've been. Sorry, that must have been when I was napping. Sorry.
Yeah, but that was my highlight of the IndyCar race. I let me say this before we go on to F1, because I actually have nice things to say about F1. Doing a podcast about a thing I love, and that thing I love is not making good content to talk about, can be frustrating. And I apologize to our listeners and viewers, because we're being this is not good, blah, blah, blah. But, Zach, we have a platform, albeit a smaller platform. But we have people that work in NASCAR and IndyCar that have told us that they listen, right?
I feel like obviously
we have the power to say, hey, we don't like this. This should be changed. They should not be going in this direction. Whatever. Like, we're just 2 fans voicing our opinion. And I don't like the direction that neither NASCAR or IndyCar are going. And we're like in a dark age right now. Like, this is bad. This is bad for American motorsport.
Yeah. I've never felt so equally like dissatisfied with NASCAR and IndyCar at the same time.
Same. And that's what I was going to say. Usually, like when IndyCar, we were so high in IndyCar, like 20 21 to like 23,
Like when
IndyCar
NASCAR
was so
had
great.
the 550 package. We're like, yeah, IndyCar's
Exactly.
better than NASCAR. IndyCar should be.
IndyCar was amazing when NASCAR had the 550 package.
Yeah.
And then next gen first year, although in hindsight, it wasn't that great on the mile and a half, but first year was like, oh my God, next gen on mile and a half are great. IndyCar started going on a decline a little bit.
Yeah. And we started to, like, in 2023, we really liked the NASCAR playoffs. Like, we thought it was a really cool playoffs, and IndyCar was starting to kind of get, Alex Palou syndrome. And then 2024, IndyCar had a lot of controversy, and we were still riding a NASCAR high. But now it's just like both are down at the same time.
Both
and we
are
don't really
down.
know how to act.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So apologies for the negativity, but I think it's warranted. And
well, you know what? I want to be negative too, because you know what really grinds my gears?
What's up?
This whole theory that we can't race at ovals because people aren't going to the races.
Oh my God.
I want to see numbers, because I feel like road courses are always going to look more packed than ovals, because ovals have these huge grandstands you have to fill. I don't know, because Graham Rahal made a tweet. He was quoting somebody. He said, I love my sport to death. We all hear it. More ovals needed, yet people don't come to the races. And it just frustrates me, because I literally had tickets to Richmond in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can't, and obviously NASCAR plays a part in it, but it's like, certainly you can put a little bit of effort to make it happen. Like, surely there's got to be a way.
Yeah.
You can't let NASCAR just like hold you. I don't know. The whole thing frustrates me, because I'm like, I was literally about to go to an oval race. So like, let's stop. Also, I did fly out to the middle of the country to go to Iowa too.
We were in an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere for Iowa.
Oh my God. Literally. That just frustrates the heck out of me, man. That theory that like,
it's like,
I don't know.
People aren't going to your oval races. Yeah. Because they're all in the Midwest. Like, for me, they're all drivable distances, but for you, you're making a 10-hour drive to Indy in a few weeks.
The closest oval to me, I think, is Indy. I mean, what? There's Indy,
for
Gateway,
IndyCar,
St. Louis,
so,
yeah, Milwaukee's, yeah, that's all in the Midwest, unless I'm forgetting something. But Nashville, actually, I think Nashville must be closer.
Nashville might be a little
not
closer,
by much,
but still,
like not by much. It's still 10 hours. So
Nashville's technically a placeholder track. It's technically not even the actual track.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And don't get me started. I think Mid Ohio is my closest track in general, which that's like 7 hours away. Like, there should be, like, I live in Virginia near the nation's capital. There's got to be something near me.
Right.
What are we doing? At least go to VIR or something. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just ranting. Let's talk about F1.
Yeah. So we have a couple F1 viewers. This is your time to shine. Oscar Piastri got another win. He has now surpassed Lando Norris, his teammate, in career wins. This is Piastri's sixth win.
That's crazy.
And well, I highlight that because I've seen a lot of people say that this is the era of Lando Norris at McLaren, but Oscar Piastri's the points leader and now has more wins than Lando.
This storyline, and anytime I bring up storylines in racing, this is what I mean. This storyline is so cool to me because it's like McLaren finally, gets way over and faster than Red Bull. And it's like, oh, this is finally Lando Norris's time to win the championship, right? Because he was catching Verstappen at the end of last year, but he couldn't quite do it. But now it's like, oh, no, it's Oscar Piastri's time to win the championship.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting storyline. And let's not, act like Max Verstappen still isn't in the picture. He won Suzuka a few weeks ago. He won the pole for this race. Definitely gave Lando and Oscar a bit of a challenge to take the lead and stuff.
Yeah.
I love all these storylines. And I wish, again, we could have something like that in NASCAR. Not so much IndyCar, because IndyCar does have the potential to have these storylines, but I just wish NASCAR could have these storylines. I just find it super interesting. And before I throw it back over to you, remember last year was Lando's first win, right? At Miami.
Like
we're coming like the 1 year anniversary of Lando finally getting his breakthrough.
Right. Oh,
it's poetry. That's why it's storyline. Yeah. It's poetry. We come back a year later, and you would think Lando is obviously he should be the championship leader because he's grown so much since getting that first one. He's won so many more races, and all of that's true. But Piastri has surpassed him even farther. Yeah, that's what I find so compelling about this F1 season. And that's why the playoffs suck in NASCAR, because Notice how we did not say anything about Joey Logano 30 minutes ago because there was nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Sorry. Still being negative.
No, you're good. There's not a lot to be positive about.
I got you going ooh and ah though when I was like, last year he won at
That
Miami.
was interesting.
Poetry, man.
And you know what had me oohing and ahhing? Maybe not ahhing, but I was like, ooh, was the McLarens fighting Max Verstappen. Those first 20 laps of this Miami race were awesome, in my opinion.
Like, in hindsight, I actually did think that was really entertaining. I was kind of frustrated because I'm like, well, here comes Max Verstappen trying to wreck everybody again.
You were texting me like, oh, Max Verstappen's such a dirty driver. I almost turned it off because of Max. But I
complain so much.
You do complain a lot, but you have good reason to.
I just hate Max. No, I just hate Verstappen. That's it. That's my only reason.
I think Abu Dhabi has kind of left a bad.
Oh yeah, it's trauma. That's why it's trauma.
Yeah, but Verstappen, he is a dirty driver, right? And he low key is a villain. He's more of an anti-hero than a villain.
He's definitely a villain though.
But look, he made those first 20 laps so exciting for me. So I'm like, oh my God, can Oscar actually get around him without getting crashed? Like, I was like, oh my God, go Oscar, go. Like, I was rooting for Oscar.
It's almost like, and people kept comparing how Oscar passed Max versus how Lando had to try like 3 times. And it's like, oh, Oscar's just this like super good driver. But what if Max was just trolling Lando? What if he was just trolling?
In the podium interviews, Lando was saying like, oh yeah, Max, he just like has to try crashing people or something. And Oscar's in the background and like looked at him and like his eyes got big and then he looked away. I was like,
I can't believe you said that, girl. What?
Yeah.
You're going to be scrapping me second with him while I drive away with the World Drivers Championship.
I think that's what we're going to be seeing.
That's what we're watching right now. That's literally what happened in that race. Like Oscar's just sailing away.
I think Lando got into his own head, like, okay, it's going to be me versus Max, and didn't even consider Oscar. And I think because Lando definitely has like an ego to him. I think he's like you were saying, like, this is finally his time. You have to. But he was like, this is finally my time. It's going to be me and Max. I got to go head to head with them. But then Oscar's just gone. Like, that's gotta eat at him, you know? Like, he really did think this was his time.
Definitely. And I mean, he qualified second yesterday. He qualified better than Oscar on Saturday. And that's what's really interesting is we see McLaren have these huge gains or these huge pace differences in the race, but qualifying on Saturday is, well, of course, it was a sprint weekend too, so they didn't have a lot of practice, but like qualifying on Saturday was very, very mixed up, I guess. Yeah. So, not mixed up, but, you know, Max put it on the McLarens. So yeah, I find that really interesting. I love the discussion we're having about Formula One. There is a lot of interesting things going on. I had a feeling the season would be really compelling, and I'm proven to be right now. This is some really cool stuff. I'm very compelled, and I will say, you know, going back to Verstappen, he was having a lot of brake issues, and like, you know, the more angles I saw of that lap 1 kerfuffle with Norris, Verstappen literally got loose. Like, he literally broke traction and. He was honestly lucky not to crash into Lando. Like, he caught it. If our camera can focus, but he was kind of lucky not to crash. I don't know, because I moved my hands too much, I guess. Whatever. Okay, now we're back.
There you go.
Sorry, I got ADHD.
But yeah, no, I really like this race. And Miami, there was a lot of talk about it not being like that good of a track. It's the low key, like I've heard someone say that this was like the Monaco of the U.S., right? That was a comment I read.
That's disrespectful to Long Beach. That's so disrespectful to Long Beach. Let's stop.
Yeah.
You need to have history. You got to have history. Sorry. But it's okay, because Miami will be having history, because we're going to be here till 2041.
And girl, when I saw this, I thought this was a typo. And I thought they meant 2031. But it's not. That's not a typo.
I have never seen that year typed out anywhere ever. Dude, that's the first time in human history that year's ever been typed out.
Zack,
I swear to God.
We're going to be in our 40s and they're still going to be in Miami F1.
I love, my favorite thing about this whole thing is seeing some of the comments on Twitter, and some dumbass said they should be at Daytona instead.
Oh, no.
You don't get it. And that's definitely a thing with F1. And that's like, there's been when we talk about, we're NASCAR fans, right? And we have all this negative thing these negative things to say. In F1 right now, the thing that the hardcore fans are complaining about is the traditional tracks like Spa. Spa's going to be placed on a rotation. We've mentioned that before.
That's like Darlington.
Suzuka's getting criticized for, its poor racing. There's
they got rid of
another
Zandvoort.
track. Did they? I think they did, didn't they? Yeah.
The Dutch
so
Grand
there's
Prix,
all these tracks that are like these classic great tracks. They even have good racing, but they're getting kind of shoved out of the calendar for these street races that make a boatload of money. Like I saw Adam Stern tweet, it's like Hard Rock Stadium made more money from the Miami GP than they did from like all of the Dolphins games last year. Like,
oh wow, whoa!
You might have to fact check that but it was it used those words. Like, I know it doesn't sound right, so that's why I'm like, go fact check it.
Put a little asterisk by what Zack said.
It might have been from like maybe not. Might have been just from like seats at the games. I don't know, but
right.
I think there's other street races that they're kind of working on. Like they're thinking about Spain. I think instead of like they might leave Barcelona and go have a street race in Madrid, I believe, which they already did that in Mario Kart 8. So I don't know what y'all doing. I love the music in that. They should just play the music really loud when the Grand Prix is going on.
Oh my god.
It's the best song in Mario Kart 8. Best song.
Well, I'm not finding the Adam Stern tweet, but I do see here that F1 is considering making Miami a night race, not next year, but in the future.
Oh yeah, and that would cost like $20 million or something.
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, that'd be cool. But yeah.
It's Miami. You're soaking up the sun. Right?
True. But do you
have a fake marina? No. You have a fake marina. Why would it be at night? Girl.
Yeah. But the reason I'm bringing that up is you were saying what F1 race could they have instead of Monaco on Memorial Day weekend? What if they did Miami Saturday night? I said Vegas initially when you said this, but what about Miami?
I said that I wasn't thinking it through. What was the big conflict if they couldn't race at Miami? Oh, because it would be like right on during when the Indy 500's happening, right?
Yeah, but if it's a night race...
You cannot race in America at the same time as the Indy 500. There's no way. But
I could see F1 trying it.
Doing what they do at Vegas and have like a Saturday night race. That would be kind of cool, because then it's like if an F1 driver wants to run Indy, then you're already in the country. Like that's the main reason.
See, I don't know if Alonso would do it. He's getting older at this point, but if Alonso wanted to try the triple, I think he's the only one I could see doing like the triple.
No one's doing the triple. Cool. I don't think anyone's that crazy.
I think that'd be awesome. And make it possible though.
It would be cool for someone just to do it. I don't.
Yeah.
No. I know. I think it was Oscar. He got interviewed about Indy, and he's like, no. Like, he's scared. I mean, that's the thing about Indy, and we'll talk about that more, but as we get into the 500, but it's like F1 drivers are still scared of the Indy 500, and I think that's something really cool, because Oscar has no interest in doing the Indy 500.
Well, to get back to Miami GP being around until at least 2041, crazy. That does not sound like a real year. One of our Patreon members, Finley, says the Miami GP this weekend probably justified its continued existence in the world with both COTA and Las Vegas. And I don't know that is interesting, because in my worldview, I assumed that if the U.S. race was going to be dropped, because I feel like 3 is a lot, and if like the U.S. fan base dropped a bit, that they would probably drop Miami before either Vegas or COTA.
That's kind of what I thought too. But
if 2041 is a long agreement, and maybe Miami be underwater by then, we won't be there by then.
I mean, with the trend of like where F1 tracks are going, you almost think COTA would get dropped first at this point. Which
unfortunately, that's why they are all in on NASCAR right now. I don't know.
I don't think any of them will get dropped, of course. I'm just, I wish Finley would have said more. Like, I want to, because I don't disagree. I almost kind of agree. I just want to know, like, why. Because, like, Miami had a pretty decent race last year, to be honest. Like, maybe that was overshadowed by the safety car and Lando winning, maybe, but.
Right.
And it's always had those festivities and celebrity. So I like what about this year made the difference? Because maybe the racing was just better. There were more passes like in the midfield with
I do think geographically Miami's still a weird location for
What do
to
you mean?
represent the United States. I feel like Vegas makes sense, Coda's Texas, but I feel like the third one
Oh,
would
well,
either
no, I
be
think
like Indianapolis or like New York City or something.
all three are pretty spread out, at least. I mean, you got what's kind of the Midwest, and you got the West Coast, and you got the East Coast. Like, I mean, it makes sense
Are
to
you
me.
saying Texas is the Midwest?
I said kind of the Midwest, even though it's not really the Midwest because it's
That is not the Midwest.
well, it's in the middle of the country, so
middle of the country.
like it's in that it's not Midwest, but it's like it's that that there's nothing but roads and squares, and every road is a square, and I don't know. There's deserts.
That'll be if we're still doing the podcast in 2041. I'm sure we'll talk about the final Miami GP, unless they extend the contract as well by then.
To go to Daytona, they'll go to Daytona. NASCAR will be out of business by then. If we're lucky.
So some F1 T here. We don't have like an F1 we don't have a T specific segment this week, but some F1 T here. Jack Doohan's reportedly out at Alpine for Imola. And Zach, you had talked with Elizabeth Blackstock about this possibility a few weeks ago on a bonus episode on the YouTube channel. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah, because he's had pressure on him basically this entire season, right?
Yeah.
And we saw his incident at Suzuka where he I don't think that put the nail in the coffin, but he left the DRS flap open, spun. His race results haven't really been stellar, and it's F1, it's cutthroat. I'd have to go back to listen exactly what she said, but Colapinto had some really good starts last year in the Williams, so I think I think getting your hands on him is such a it's you can't really pass it up when you have the opportunity. And at least they gave him 6 races, right? 6,
including one last season, right? The finale last year.
Yeah, like they gave him chances. They gave him longer than what Liam Lawson got. So I don't know. It's just it kind of makes me sad because we might never see this guy in F1 ever again. But
right.
We all also kind of saw it coming. I'm pretty sure he saw it coming, which is almost the sad part about it.
Yeah. Well, even in your video you did with Elizabeth's like, yeah, that's kind of just the general consensus, it sounded like.
Yeah, because they signed Colapinto in January, and it was just like, girl, what are you doing? Like, what do you need him for? Who's that? What's that meme? Who are you? I'm the owner of this house. that's Franco Colapinto right now.
My only request is that they do not make Franco shave his head, because both Jack Doohan and Pierre Gasly shaved their heads at the start of the year, and they looked.
Why? Do you think?
I don't know.
What?
I think the team made them do it. I don't know.
No, there's no way. That's some Roger Penske. That's like Roger Penske. That's Roger Penske on crack. Like Ryan Blaney's yearly haircut. Gosh, does Ryan still get those? I don't pay attention.
Yeah. He started Daytona like clean shaven. Ryan did.
Okay.
Yeah. Lastly, this is just funny. The Lego car parade lap was the funniest part of the whole weekend.
I would have loved to be at the track to see that, because it's like, that's so ridiculous. And I just had fun thinking about all of it. It's like, so they put together all of these like F1, like real life F1 car sized Lego cars out of actual Legos. They even had the sponsor logos. Like, they didn't even look like stickers. They looked like actual bricks. I found the whole thing so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And they have there's a Lego show where it's like people build these huge things out of Legos. Like,
yeah, I've watched an episode or two of that.
Oh my God. Like, it's just such a cool promotion. Like, NASCAR needs to get in on that, because they have those little F1 Lego car kits, which obviously that's kind of promotion for that. I know NASCAR has like stupid little fake race car, like fake cars that aren't actual teams. Like, but they need to get on like having. They used to have that back in the day. I feel like they had like a Dale Jr. one I used to have as a kid.
But this was so funny. They had the drivers in like two-seaters. There was one for each team.
Oh my
Lewis
God, yes.
Lewis Hamilton put a TikTok out of his POV of the whole like part of the lap. Funniest thing ever. And then there's a part where I forget who it was, which cars, but they like hit each other and the Legos start flying everywhere.
I think it was the Alpine. I think it was Alpine.
It might have been.
At least Jack Doohan had to have fun on his last day of work.
Yeah. His last day of work.
I will say Mario Kart Double Dash.
Yeah.
Mario Kart they should have had Lewis in the back with a banana peel and he's throwing it at them.
Yeah.
They should have gave them stuff to throw at each other. That would have been so fun.
That would have been so funny.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I love
candy
that.
to throw out to the fans at least.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that'd be cute.
Or shirts.
Give 'em,
shirt cannons.
get one of those shirt guns.
Yeah.
When they shoot the shirt over. That'd be funny. So that just made me smile, and I wanted to end on a positive note. Fantasy, we have NASCAR at Kansas and IndyCar at the Indy Road Course. For Texas, Zach, you got the point with Larson finishing 4th, and I had Bowman who finished 35th. I just noticed I picked Alex for both races, Alex Bowman, Alex Palou.
And I have two very different results.
I did. I did. So let's start with NASCAR at Kansas. You get to pick first. I have the point lead by 1 point.
Yeah, because you won Bristol a few races ago, so I'm like still catching up from that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pick Ryan Blaney.
Oh, really?
Team Penske's going to win 3 in a row.
The setup for Joseph's 3P in a few weeks. Yep.
Austin Cindric and Joey Logano just went out of nowhere. I'm like, certainly Blaney finally gets that win. He's been fast on the intermediates.
He's been very fast at Kansas specifically.
I think he's going to put that race together Sunday, finally. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. He's going to go back-to-back at Kansas.
So I was going to pick him, but I'm like, no. I'm picking Ryan Blaney because this is NASCAR, and the obvious guy does not win the race. So,
all right.
I think Team Penske's going to go for that 3P. I'm here for the story at this point. And do you know what the story is going to be at the Indy Road Course?
Yeah, you get to pick first for Indy Road Course. What you got?
The story for the Indy Road Course is going to be Alex Palou winning 4 of the 5 races. Alex Palou is going to win the Indy Road Course.
Bold. That's bold, Zach.
I wonder who you're going to pick.
So, yeah, my IndyCar pick, this guy I talked about earlier, been pretty good this season. He's been pretty good at the Indy Road Course before. I think he's bound to get a win there eventually. So maybe Alex Palou has like something go wrong and finished his 3rd instead of 1st for once.
Nothing ever happens to him.
I know.
Except when I pick him, probably.
I'm going to go with Christian Lundgaard.
And that was also my 2nd pick.
He's been really good there.
I'll tell you what, these picks were really hard today because I'm like, I could go with Larson, I could go with Blaney, I could go with Lundgaard, I could go with Palou.
Yep.
Because Palou can't win every race. And if Lundgaard's going to beat Palou at any track, it is going to be the Indy Road Course. I just could not leave Palou on the table. There's no way I could do it. So, interesting.
For our IndyCar fantasy, for those following along, I have 5 points. Zach has 3. I did get the win with Palou, and you had McLaughlin, who finished 3rd at Barber.
Yeah. You only have 1 win with Palou? How does that math work? I'm not trying to give you points, but no, I won at Thermal. We didn't pick Palou at St. Pete, did we? No.
I don't think we picked.
Okay, then no, that makes sense. And then he didn't win at Long Beach, but you picked him at Long Beach and he finished. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I should have 3.
For
you should
IndyCar at St. Pete, I picked Newgarden and you picked McLaughlin.
Yeah, and you got the point. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You're the math's right. I don't know why I thought you had. You must have. Why do I? No, I swept the weekend. I won that Thermal and Homestead. Okay, that's what I was thinking of. I thought you did it at one point.
And
oh my gosh.
Kansas tradition. Jackson Todd will be here next week. So we have that to look forward to.
Exciting.
Jackson wants to talk about the at-track experience stuff again. We talked about that a bit last time. He wants to talk about that again because, the Indy 500's coming up. I think we're going to talk about our dream all-star race formats. So Zach,
that'll be fun to talk about.
I'll remind you to come up with something.
Well, I already have something. I'm stealing it from Dale Jr., so that's my hint.
Fair enough.
So
So that to look forward to. I will be at Kansas Speedway for there, and I will also be at the High Limit Sprint Car Series race.
Oh, I'm glad you're going to that. That'll be so fun.
On Friday, I'm going to be covering it. I don't know if covering is the right word, but I'll be working there for A2L Media. So, yeah.
Look at you. You're such a big boy.
I know. I'll tell you more about that.
Cover a race.
I know. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
You'll have a lot of fun.
I'm going to put my own twist on it, so I can be like, I'm a reporter. I'm going to have fun with it. I have an idea.
Okay. That's good.
But to wrap things up, join the Patreon discussion throughout the episode, such as what Chris and Finley did, submitting their comments, patreon.com/gayracingpod. Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers. If you'd like, you can rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll read any 5-star written Apple reviews. Consider liking and subscribing on YouTube. We just hit 500 a few weeks ago. We're moving on up in the world. You can follow at Gay Racing Pod on Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can follow me at Newgaden on Blue Sky. And Zack is on Twitter at DreamyZackRacing on Blue Sky and Twitter.
Yep. Man, I'm really bummed that me and Jackson had plans to do some cool iRacing streams this week because he was going to run a Gay Racing podcast car in Kansas this week, but his schedule got too busy. So
dang.
I might try to find someone to fill in, but I also have a lot going on this week too. So
yeah, and you're sick. You're not feeling.
And great. I'm sick. Yeah. Sorry if I sounded different, but oh well.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, next week we got a lot to talk about with
hopefully
NASCAR
our first
Kansas.
good race in a month.
NASCAR at Kansas, and that's the thing. It's like this race better be good because we ruined like 90% of the tracks on the schedule just for this these 2 Kansas races.
Right.
So this better be good.
Sure hope so. Man.
Hopefully, I wonder if they're going to bring a softer left side tire like they did at Texas, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.